so let's go through.
Because 3.5 can't go into 12 or 144.
So yeah, so it looks like we'll have to change 12 to inches, right? Because we're looking for a scale factor. And so what we'd have to do for this one is maybe instead of 3.5, let's see, we can do 3.5, 2, and like you said, if 12 feet equals 144 inches, right? Now we'll have inches over inches. It's like you said, Andy, since it doesn't go in evenly, we can actually just leave it like this almost. So the scale factor is 3.5 to 144. Let's see. Can we do anything different here? Does 3.5, if we have 3.5 inches, say how many feet is that? Let's see, 3.5 times, this is inches, 1 foot per 12 inches. We'll get another fraction there. So this isn't a great, this isn't too great because we're not getting some good numbers here, but let me just check something real quick. 3.5. Yeah, so this one's not going to give us an even answer. So that's a good question, Andy. It's not going to give us a really good answer here. We can just say that the scale factor is going to be 3.5 or 3.5 to 144. I would say that's going to be your best answer. Because we can't, it's hard because we can't simplify the top to like a really good number without a fraction. And if we did, then their bottom would have a fraction. So the biggest key here, the biggest thing we got to know is that we just have to make sure 12 feet is turned into inches. So 144 inches. And that way, when we put it like this, when we're getting our scale factor, we have inches over inches. And so these cancel. So we have a scale factor that has no units to it. Does that help? Perfect. Any other questions? Okay. Great question, Andy. All right, so let me stop sharing. Here. Share. Try to. There we go. All right. Oops, wrong one. All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns from anybody? All right, perfect. So let's see. So we're doing lesson 24 today, and we only have 30 lessons total. So for 2B, we only have, I think, 7, so 6 more after today. So we're getting really close to the end here. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at circles and then circumference as well. And so a circle is the set of all points in a plane that are the same distance from a point called the center. I think everyone here has worked with circles, right? If not, you can let me know and we can go over what a circle is. So our big things here is we have a radius and a diameter. And so our radius is going to be the distance from the center to any point on the circle. So we can see this red line. And then the diameter is the distance across the circle. And so it's like two radiuses, right? So it goes from one end to the other. And it has to go through the center. So if we're looking at our key idea about radius and diameter, diameter, or d of a circle, is twice the radius, which makes sense. If our radius goes from the center to the outer edge, and our diameter goes from one edge to the other through the center, we can say that 2 radiuses equals the diameter right here. Or we can go the other way and say that our radius is going to be the same as the diameter divided by 2. Half a diameter is a radius. Any questions on that? Comments, concerns? Any thoughts on that? Okay. All right, so example 1. For part A, we're going to look at this blue circle here. It says the diameter of this circle is 20 feet. Find the radius. So I would say the radius is equal to our diameter divided by 2. And so that's 20 divided by 2, or 10. And then we have feet here. So 10 feet. And then for number 2, it says the radius of a circle is 7 feet. Find the diameter. So our diameter is equal to 2 times the radius, or 2 times 7, which would be equal to 14. And then we have meters. Does that make sense for everybody? Any questions? Comments, concerns? Easy stuff? Thumbs up if that was pretty easy. Thumbs in the middle if it was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Thumbs down if it's like, ooh, I don't like it. What do we think? What do you think, Julia? Easy stuff? All right, cool, perfect. Let's see. So now we'll have exercise 1. So let's see, since we only have 3 people in here right now, why don't we do this? We'll do Andy, you can take A. Julia, give you B. And then Melissa, we're going to create one over here for you. And so we'll say that a circle has a diameter of 22 inches. What's the radius? All right, so everybody can either annotate on there or give me a thumbs up when you're done or chat your answer. Whichever you prefer. I'll give everybody a minute or so. Let me know if you have any questions. Perfect. All right. So, Andy, do you want to walk us through yours? How did you end up getting 8? What did you end up doing?
16 divided by 2 equals 8.
Perfect. So we saw that the diameter is 16. So to get the radius, we divide it by 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8. It's perfect. Great job. Julia, how did you get your answer? It looked like you wrote 18 here for yours.
I just multiplied it by 2.
Perfect. So the diameter is 2 times our radius. 2 times 9 is 18. Perfect. Melissa, how did you end up getting 11 for yours?
I did 22 divided by 2.
Perfect. So 22 is our diameter divided by 2 gives us a radius of 11. And what I really like is Melissa put inches on here. So she saw we had inches and put our units. Sometimes those are pretty important to put. I'm not too worried about it here, but I like to just point out that that's a good thing to do, is put your units on there. All right. Any questions on any of these? Comments, concerns? All right, perfect. Should be easy stuff so far. All right, our next key idea we're looking at circumference. And so circumference is like the perimeter of a circle. The distance around a circle is called the circumference. And so our ratio, circumference over diameter, is the same for every circle. And that's represented by a Greek letter shown here. And we call this Greek letter pi. So we can write it like this. Or some people make it look straight. Either one's fine. The value of pi is approximately 3.14 or 22/7. And so when we're looking at getting the circumference, we can say the circumference is equal to our pi times the diameter. Or if we're looking at it in terms of the radius, circumference is going to be equal to 2 times pi r, or 2 times the radius times pi. And we can see how these are the same because the diameter is equal to 2r. Does that make sense for everybody? Any questions on that? Comments, concerns? Easy stuff so far? Julia's like, get on with it. We got it. We know our circles. All right. So example 2 says find the circumference of the flying disk, and we'll use 3.14 for pi. So here it looks like we have the radius. Now we could change the radius to diameter. It doesn't really matter. But what I'm going to do is circumference is going to be pi, but I'm going to use 3.14, and then times our 2, and then times our r, which is 5. So 5 times 2 is 10, then times 3.14, and that should give us 31.4 inches. Any questions on that? Comments, concerns? Melissa's throwing the thumbs up. She's like, easy stuff. We got this. All right. So now B. B says find the circumference of the watch. Now we'll use 22/7 for pi. So it looks here like now we have the diameter. So now our circumference will be equal to 22 divided by 7 times 28. Let's see. I think if we simplify here, 7 goes into 28 4 times, and that turns into a 1. 22 times 4 is 88. Oops, that's a bad 8. 88, and here we have millimeters. So 88 millimeters. Does that make sense for everybody? Any questions, comments, or concerns? All right. So we'll keep on going here. All right, so now we're going to find the circumference of the objects. We'll use 3.14 or 22/7, whichever you prefer. So this time we'll switch the order up a little bit. We'll go Julia, you have 3. Go Melissa, you can have number 4. And that leaves Andy with number 5. So feel free to annotate or message me your answer, whichever one. All right, I'll give you another minute. Or if you get done, Melissa, you can give me a thumbs up. All right, perfect.
I'll just send it in the chat. I forgot to annotate.
All right, no worries, that works too. All right, Julia, do you want to walk us through what you did on yours?
Okay, so I took the radius, which is 2, and I multiplied it by 2, so I get the diameter. And then I got 4, so then I did 3.14 times 4, and I got 12.5.
Perfect. That's exactly right, 12.56. Let's see, Melissa, you did this one. Let me check. Perfect, okay. So Melissa got 43, oh, excuse me, 0.96. So Melissa, do you want to walk us through what you did?
Sure, I did 14 times 3.14, and I got 43.96.
Perfect, exactly right. And so sometimes, so when I looked at this one, sometimes it might be easier for some people to use the fraction. So the only reason I'd say this one's easier is because it has 14. So if we have 22 divided by 7 times our 14, we can see here that the 7 and 14 will simplify a little easier, right? So we get 44. Now, it's an approximation, right? So 3.14 is actually a little closer to pi. I think pi is like 3.141596 or something. So this one's a little bit closer. But sometimes it might be easier to use the fraction. But do whatever you feel better doing. That's nicer for you. So we see Andy, it looks like you used 22 over 7. Do you want to walk us through what you did?
I just multiplied 9 by 22.
Perfect.
And then after that, I did 3.14 times 9 because the 198 divided by 7 went on forever.
It does, right? So this is nice. We can always leave it as this fraction, 198 over 7, because we get something like you have here, 28.2, and then some numbers, right? So this works too. Either one's perfectly fine. So great job, everybody. Any questions or anything so far? Pretty easy stuff for everybody. I think you all have I think you all have it down. Circles seem to be pretty easy for everybody. Let's see here. Clear some of these. Keep on going. All right, example 4. This one says that the circumference of the roll of caution tape decreases 10.5 inches after a construction worker uses some of the tape. What's the best estimate of the diameter of the roll after the decrease? So it says here the circumference is equal to 31.4 at the start. And then the circumference decreases 10.5 inches. Decreases. So now what's the best estimate of the diameter of the roll after the decrease? So we had 31.4 and now we have 10.5. But we know that if we do pi times our diameter, that's going to be the circumference. So if we have pi times our 10, my bad. So if we have pi times our diameter, that should be equal to 31.4. And for our other one, we should have pi times our diameter, and that will equal 10.5. And so this is what it was at first. So this is before we did a construction worker using it, and this one's after. So it looks like here what we can do for the before is we'll divide it by pi. So diameter will be 31.4 divided by 3.14. And for after, we can do the same thing. So our diameter will equal 10.5 divided by 3.14. 31.4 divided by 3.14 looks like it is 10 inches. And then 10.5 divided by 3.14 is approximately 3.44 inches. So if we're looking at approximates, we can say 10 minus, we'll say about 3. Yeah, this question's kind of weird at word. We want to know how much the diameter, what diameter we lost, I think. And then it's going to be about, about 7, right? 10 minus 3 is about 7. So we'll get rid of this right here, of the roll decrease. Does that make sense for everybody? Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. So now it says, what if the circumference of this one of the tape decreased 5.25 inches? Oops, you know what? I'm sorry. I read this wrong. Let me start this one. Sorry, I did the second part wrong. That was my fault. I see why I got the wrong answer. I'm so sorry. I read it wrong. Okay. First, what we have to do, I apologize. So first, what we have to do is find what the second circumference is. So if it decreases 10.5, we have to subtract here. So this will turn to 0. We'll have a 9 and then 20.9. Okay, that's my fault. I was reading it wrong. So we went from 31.4 to 20.9. And so before, our diameter looked like it was 10 inches, but we should get a decrease because our circumference decreased. So now if we're doing it, we can say 20.9 divided by 3.14. So now when we do that, 20.9 divided by 3.14 is about 6.656. So we'll say it's about 7 inches. And that makes more sense for our question. Does that make sense now? Julia, you were supposed to catch me on that. You're supposed to be like, you're doing it wrong. I got the right answer, right? No? Okay. All right. Then Andy and Melissa were supposed to. No one even caught me. You're just letting me do the problem wrong.
I mean, you're the teacher, so.
Okay. So now we're on the right track here. So what if now the circumference decreases 5.25 inches? So we went from 31.4. Now we're going to subtract 5.25 inches. So now we should get something like, get a 5 here, a 1. Got to steal a 10 from this side. So now we go from 31.4 inches to 26.15 inches. Can anybody tell me what we do with the 26.15 to get the diameter? So this will be equal to the circumference. Any thoughts? What do we think? So we want to find the diameter. And how can we get that? Any ideas?
Do the formula the opposite way around.
Perfect. We do the opposite. So circumference is our pi times diameter, but we know the circumference is 26.15. We can divide that by pi to get our diameter. Exactly right. So let's see, we'll do 26.15 divided by 3.14. And so now we get a diameter that's equal to about 8.328. So we can approximate it. We'll say it's about 8 inches in diameter. Good job, Julia. Any questions, comments, or concerns on that? All right, perfect. Okay, so now we have a semicircle, and a semicircle is 1/2 of a circle. So we want to find the perimeter of the semicircular region. And so now what we have to do, if we know that a full circle, right, has a circumference equal to, this one has diameter. So it's pi times the diameter. Now to get the perimeter of our half circle, we'd have to do pi times the diameter divided by 2. So we can say for this one, pi times 6 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3 times pi. Let's see, 3.14 times 3. We get about 9.42. Or we could do it this way, 22/7 times 3. We get 66 divided by 7. Any questions on that one? Comments or concerns? All right. Easy stuff. All right, so now we have 3 more. So we'll break these ones up again. This time we'll do Melissa here. You have 7. We'll go Andy. You have number 8. And then Julia, you got number 9. So go ahead and either annotate or you can chat me your answers, whichever works. I'll give everybody about a minute or 2. I'm sure everyone will do it faster though. You're all smart. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Let me know when you get yours, Melissa, and then we can go over them. All right, let's walk through them. Melissa, what did you do for yours here?
I did, since the diameter is 2 and the radius is 1. So I did pi plus wait.
So we got to, you're good. We got to remember circumference, right, is either diameter multiplied by pi or 2 times our radius times pi. And for our half a circle, we have to divide these by 2.
Oh, sorry, I think I did it wrong.
No worries. Well, let's walk through it. So it looks like you're close, right? So you told me that the diameter was 2. So let's stick with the diameter for a second. I think 2 is a really good one to work with. So if our perimeter of a semicircle is our diameter times pi divided by 2, couldn't we say 2 times pi divided by 2? And so Melissa, can you tell me what's 2 times pi divided by 2?
It's just pi.
It's just pi. Perfect. So instead of 6.14, we'll have 3.14. And so that one makes it really easy. That's good. Good job, Melissa. Thank you. All right, Andy, you want to walk us through yours?
3.5 times 3.141 equals 12.990.
So walk us through that again. You said 3.14.
5, which is half of 7 times 3.14 pi equals 12.990.
Okay, so let's see. I think your math might be a little off, right? So if pi is 3.14,
Oh, wait, I meant 10.99.
okay, that makes more sense. 10.99. Because so this one, right, this might be a good one. Because so Andy did 3.14 times 7 divided by 2. And he got 10.99, which makes sense. So when I was looking at it, I thought 12 was off because I used this one. So if we have 22, not a weird squiggly, if we had 22 over 7 as our pi times the diameter, which is 7, and then divide all of that by 2, right? These 7s cancel, and that gives me 22 on the top divided by 2, which is 11. And so 10.99 is really close to 11. So that's how we know that this is good. Thanks, Andy. Good job. All right, and it looks like Julia is over here with 47.1. Do you want to walk us through it, Julia?
So I just use 15 because it's a semicircle, and then I multiplied it by 3.14,
Perfect.
and I got 27.1.
It's exactly right. So here, this is a weird one, right? So Julia did it before I even got to put this up. So if we have the radius, since our diameter is 2 times the radius, here we can have 2r pi over 2, and our 2's cancel. So now we have just our radius times pi, or 15 times 3.14. We get about 47.1. Great job, Julia. And great job, Andy and Melissa. Let's see. I have to delete all of your great annotations, so I'm sorry. All right. Now, I think we did some of these in pre-algebra A. So we're looking at perimeters of composite figures, and maybe we did just area. I can't remember exactly, but we definitely looked at composite figures. So a composite figure is made up of triangles, squares, rectangles, semicircles, and other two-dimensional figures. And so they put in 2 examples here. And so to find the perimeters of these composite figures, we find the distance around the figures. And so right here, we have a square and a triangle. So what we'd have to do is we'd have to find the perimeter of this square, then the perimeter of the triangle. But the hard part is we don't want to do all of the square and all of the triangle, because then it would add in 2 extra pieces here. So what we have to do is when we're doing the square, if we do the top and then the bottom, and then say we did the triangle, the whole perimeter of the triangle, now what we can do is we can take this here, since it's part of the triangle, it's also the height of this part here. And so we would take it out, and like move it over here. So now that would give us our whole piece. Does that kind of make sense? Any questions on that, comments, or concerns? So then for this one, right, we just figured out how to do the perimeter of this semicircle. And so that would include this bottom part. So then if we knew how wide or how high this rectangle is, we could just add these two sides to this semicircle. And then this part would be included right here in our semicircle. Does that make sense for everybody? Any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. So let's see. This one says to estimate the perimeter of the arrow. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break it up on this line. And so I'll find the perimeter of this triangle. Then I'll find the perimeter here. But all I want to do here is find this to here and this to here. Because this, or actually, so this one's a little different. We can't necessarily do that. We'll have to subtract some of it out. So sometimes it's not as easy. So now we'll have to do the perimeter of this side, the perimeter of this side, perimeter of this side. Then we can do the perimeter of the whole triangle, and we'll subtract this length here. Does that make sense for everybody? All right, so it looks like the perimeter of our square here, or our rectangle, I guess, is, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 6 on top, which means we have 6 on the bottom. And then we can add this left side. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 4. So that means that this part is 4. And so if we added 4 here, it would include that. So we can definitely do that if we want. But if I'm going to do, if I want the perimeter, it's the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel this one out because we know it's inside here. And then we can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so for our triangle, so this is our rectangle. Here's our triangle. We have 4 plus 4. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And so plus 2, and then plus 2. And we're going to skip this part here. So we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we have 12 and 16. So we add these together, we should get a perimeter of 28, approximately 28. Any questions on that one? All right, so I want to show another way how we can do it if we decided to do the middle part as well, right? So if I found the perimeter of the square or the rectangle, I guess, sorry, we'd have 2 6s, which we said is right here. And then we'd also have 2 4s. We'd have this side and we'd have this side. So we'd say plus 2 times 4. So now we got to remember that this is now part of our perimeter. Now, if we did the triangle this way, we could do the same. So we'd have to say 2 times our 4, because these lengths were the same. And then we'd say plus whatever this length is. So it looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now what we would get is 12 plus 8, which is 20, And for the triangle, we would get 8 plus 8, which is 16. So that total perimeter, right, would be 36. So this is why we have to remember, oh, this middle part from here to here can't be included in the triangle because it's not on the outside. So we can subtract 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 4. And then since we added it on this part too, we'd have to subtract another 4. And so 36 minus 4 is 32, minus 4 should get us 28. Any questions on that? Comments or concerns? Or does anybody have another way to do it that they'd like to share? All right, perfect. Let's see. So we're gonna estimate the perimeter of these figures, and then we will find the perimeter of this one. So let's do this. We'll do Andy, you got number 1. Let's do Melissa, you got number 2, and feel free to annotate. And Julia, you got example 2. If you have any questions, let me know, and I can help you out. Is that a 26, Andy? 26? All right. Let's walk through these. Andy, how did you get yours?
7 for the 2 top sides, because I counted one of them.
So right here?
Yep. And then for the front and back, each one of those lines are 3. So that would be 4 3s, which would be 12. And 12 plus 14 equals 26.
Perfect. So we got 3 times 4 is 12. And then you said 7 times 2, which is 14, which is 26. Looks good. Melissa, do you want to walk us through yours?
So I counted one of the top sides and I got 4. Or not the top, sorry, the side.
Right here?
Yeah, that one. And I got, wait, sorry, 3.
3? Okay.
What? Oh, sorry, I wrote the wrong answer.
No worries, no worries. It's kind of hard to see. So if you needed me to zoom in, I can do that too.
But that's 3, so the other side is also 3. Part of the other side.
So this part, 1, 2, and 3, right here.
And then I got 5 for the rest of the bottom part and the top part 2.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. And you said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here.
And then for the very bottom, I got 10.
Got 10. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool. Looks good.
And then for the final side, I got 5.
Perfect. We got 5. So we got 3 5s, looks like, plus a 10, and then plus our 2 3s that you got. Perfect. So we got 31, just like you said. Great job. How's it going, Nicole?
Good.
Good. So we were just doing, we're looking at some circles earlier with some radius and diameters. And then we did circumference and perimeters of circles and half circles. And now we're using those with our composite figures to find out perimeters of these composite figures.
Okay.
All right. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now we're on to Julia. You ready to walk us through it?
Okay, so I did 6 times 8, which is 48. Then I divided by 2, which is 24. And then I set that aside. And then I did 30, pi times 5. And then I got 15.7. And I added that to 24. And I got 39.7.
Okay. So we got to be careful. When you did this 8 times 6 and then divided it by 2, that's actually how we get the area of a triangle.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah.
So this part's good. To get the perimeter of the semicircle, we do pi times 5. And that'll get us the whole perimeter of the semicircle.
Okay, and then I think I have to minus 10 because the bottom will be connected to the triangle. So that'll be 5.7, and then 8 plus 6 is 14. So 5.7 plus 14 is 19.7.
So we got 19.7. Perfect. Great job, Julia. That was a great catch, and especially that subtracting 10. Sometimes that's what we miss. I've done it, right? I already missed something today. And then Melissa said, you know what? You're the teacher. We thought you were right. It's like, we all make mistakes. It happens. And so when I'm wrong, go ahead and tell me. I know Andy has. Andy's been like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't know what you're doing there. That's okay. Let's see. All right, so before I erase this, is there any questions, comments, or concerns? All right. All right, we'll walk through this one together. So this one, like Julia just had. So we're gonna find the perimeter of this figure that's made up of a semicircle and a triangle. So the easy part is the perimeter of these two sides of the triangle are just 24 plus 10. So that gives us 34. And we don't have to add this one in here because we'll just have to subtract it later. And then the semicircle, like we said, the perimeter of these semicircles is 26 times pi, and then divided by 2, or 13 times pi. 13 times pi It's about 40.82, it looks like. Now we got to do the biggest thing like Julia said. Now, since this is the perimeter of this whole thing, we have to make sure we take out what's not on the perimeter, which is this 26 centimeters. So we should get about 14.82. Then we add 34 to that, because that was the rest, our other two sides. So we should get about 48.82 centimeters. Any questions on that one? Comments, concerns? Did anybody do it differently? All right. We'll keep on going. All right, example 3. This running track is made up of 2 semicircles and 1 rectangle, and we want to find the perimeter again. So here we see that the radius of this semicircle and this semicircle is 32. And then we have a length here of 100 meters. So the easy part is this rectangle has these 2 sides. The 2 sides are both 100. So we can add 100, right? Now, if I want to find the perimeter of this part, we'll do perimeter is equal to our diameter times pi divided by 2. And so that would be 32 times pi divided by 2, which I believe is 16 times pi. 16 times pi is equal to 50.24. So now what I have to do is I have to subtract the diameter. Correct? But since this 50.24 isn't big enough, what we can do is we can add all of these together, right? So this is 200. And then if we know that this semicircle has a perimeter, oops. You know what I forgot to do? Here I go again. Nobody told me. Melissa, you were supposed to tell me. I forgot a 2, since this is not diameter. This is 2 times the radius. See? I was thinking diameter. So our 2's cancel. And now we're just stuck with 32 pi. There we go. Now it makes more sense to me. Does that make more sense to everybody else? Perfect. Okay, now we should get a better answer. So 32 times 3.14 will be 100.48. Now it looks a little bit better. Now the diameter here is 32 and 32, so our whole diameter should be 64. So we can subtract 64 from this. Let's get a 0 here, a 9 here. So we should get about 36.48. And that is just for this part right here. But we know we have 2 of them. So we can come down here and add another 36.48. That'll give us a 6 and a 9, 2, and a 7. And then we can add that to our 200 up here for the sides. And our final answer should be 272.96. Question, Andy? Did you find something wrong?
100.48 from?
So if we know that the perimeter of this semicircle is 2 times our radius times pi divided by 2, correct? Our 2's cancel, which makes our perimeter, or P, of the semicircle only. Our radius times pi. And our radius is 32, correct? And so when I did the math on my calculator, I said 32 times 3.14, and I got 100.48. Awesome. Okay, good question. So can anybody think of any other ways that this one could be done? Any thoughts? So what if I told you that if we took out this middle piece, this middle rectangle, the 2 ends would make a perfect circle. And then we could say that the circumference of that circle is equal to 2 times pi times our radius. So now our circumference of the circle, right, would be 32 times 2, which is 64 times pi, right? So 64 times pi is equal to 200.96. But then we'd also have this middle piece in here. And so here we could subtract 64. Did I do this one right? 100 minus 64. Maybe you can't do that because that's just circumference. What am I doing here? Because we have 2 of these, so we'd have to take out 2 of these. So 64 and 64. That's where it comes. Okay. Any questions on that? So here, when we take out this, to be taking out 128, and we get 72.96 again. Just have to remember to take out 2 of the middle parts. Okay. Confused myself for a second. Any questions on this one? Comments, concerns? Does anyone have another way to do it? An easier way that they can think of? Are we all good on this one? All right, Julia says, yep, move on. We're done. All right, Melissa too. All right, so exercise 3. Let's try this one. Walk me through it. This figure is made up of 2 semicircles and a square. Let's find the perimeter. So can someone tell me, if this side is 8 meters, what is this side going to be?
Hey, can I solve it?
All right, 8 meters. You want to try this one, Andy?
Yeah.
You want to walk us through it?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
So we could first do the squares perimeter. So that would be 8 and 8, that's 16. And then for the semicircles, we could just make the whole thing up. So you could solve, so 8 pi divided by 2 equals
I just did
4.
8 divided by 2.
Okay, 4 pi. What's 4? So it would be 12.5. I mean 12.56.
Okay.
And then you'd subtract 8. So it would be 4.56. Same thing for the other side. So it would be 10.12 plus 16.
10 or 9? I think 9 is what I got.
Oh, yeah, sorry. 9.
No worries. I wanted to make sure I wasn't having the wrong numbers. Off my game today. All right. And so this 9.12, that's just this part. Oh, let me do a different color here. Let's see, what's a good color today? Let's see. Let's do, try purple. So this 9.12, that is just this part here. And then this part here. And then, so we add that to our 8 and our 8. So 9.12 plus 16, we get about 25.12 meters. Thanks for doing that one for us, Andy. That was a great job. Any questions from anybody? Comments, concerns? Nicole said we got it. Golden. All right. So looks like that's all.